Roughly 3 years ago, Acura made a bold decision to bring back the beloved Integra nameplate to the States after an over 20-year-long hiatus, and that risk paid off because the Integra quickly became one of the best-selling models in its segment, with Acura selling well over 32,000 units in the first full year of sales. Now, of course, for 2025, Acura is deciding to expand their SUV portfolio with a new entry-level model called this. This is the first ever 2025 Acura ADX. It's essentially an Integra SUV because it's built off of the latest light truck architecture, something that it shares with the Honda HR-V. Under the hood, it comes with the same VTEC Turbo engine from the Integra, with the availability, of course, of all-wheel drive. So as you can see, this week, we are testing out the latest ADX A-Spec with the advanced package, and the big question I went answered, has Acura managed to capture some of that Integra magic in a smaller SUV? Stay tuned to find out. So before we start talking about the unique styling language of the new Acura ADX, let's go ahead and talk about what's going on underneath the hood, because just like the Integra and unlike the HR-V, this vehicle does come standard with a unique powertrain, which includes a 1.5-liter double overhead cam 4-cylinder engine with their patented VTEC technology. Now, as you can see underneath the hood, you're gonna find a transverse mounted engine. And that's because if you guys go for a 2-wheel drive version of the ADX, just like the Integra, this vehicle is front wheel drive. However, unlike the Integra, you can get it for $2,000, an all-wheel drive system that essentially adds up to 50% of the torque going to the rear wheels. But as you can see, this powertrain should be pretty familiar if you guys have had other Honda and Acura products. They're 1.5-liter gasoline direct injection, double overhead cam, turbocharged VTEC 4-cylinder engine. It makes 190 horsepower and 179 pound-feet of torque in this vehicle. That's technically 10 less horsepower versus what you get in the Integra, and around 13 or 12 less pound-feet of torque. But this does make the engine around 32 horsepower stronger and around 41 foot-pounds of torque better versus the naturally aspirated 2-liter that you find in the HR-V. For those of you who are looking for hybrid assistance or any kind of electrified powertrain, this is where Acura sadly is going to leave you wanting, or at least heading to your local Lexus dealership, because this is the only powertrain available. It all goes out through a continuously variable transmission. And like I said earlier, my test car has the optional all-wheel drive system. It's not super handling all-wheel drive, so it cannot send, torque vectoring or the power side to side to give you better handling. Now, fuel economy for this model is rated at 25 in the city, 30 on the highway. That's on premium gas recommended, of course. You can run it on regular. It has a 14-gallon fuel tank. You're looking at around 375 miles of range on a full tank. Now, Acura doesn't quote a 0 to 60 time. The last one that I tested out in California did it in around 9 seconds. So I'm hoping I can get a better time this time on my actual, home turf. Top speed should be around 125 miles an hour. This vehicle is not recommended to tow, which some competitors are. And this vehicle, as it sits, weighs in at around 3,600 pounds, roughly 500 pounds heavier than a front-wheel drive Integra with this powertrain, and the ADX has less power, so ouch. An HR-V with all-wheel drive is roughly around 400 pounds lighter as well. So keep in mind, all the added luxury and tech features of the ADX has definitely made it heavier versus a lot of its, other, siblings that are based on this architecture. But closing that heavy hood, which as you guys saw was supported with a prop rod, it really should be held up with struts. As you can see, the styling of the ADX definitely screams Integra SUV. I almost kind of wish that I was looking at an Integra, because the name ADX to me just kind of doesn't roll off the tongue, but Acura chose the name because they wanted to essentially offer every SUV from A to Z. Now, my test car here is the top trim. It's known as the A-Spec with the advanced package. You can see the hood very much reminds us of the Integra with all those creases and bulges. This color is called Urban Gray Pearl. It's technically an extra $500. It has almost like hints of a warm gray with metallic fleck when the sun hits it. The headlights, you can see these are the Acura chicane style full LED headlights, which have an LED daytime running light, LED turn signals. These are not their jewel eye LEDs, so you only have one single projector LED. You also have an LED fog light down here at the lower fascia that's included when you guys go for the A-Spec models. The big diamond pentagon grille almost looks too big for the ADX's smaller headlights and smaller proportions. You can see it has like an extra diamond texture in the actual grille insert, the big Acura logo there that houses the camera right below it. You have integrated parking sensors, and it's a frameless diamond pentagon that kind of goes with their newer design theme. Down here at the lower splitter, the A-Spec includes more aggressive bodywork, along with a more aggressive lip spoiler, and you can see my test car also has the accessory front underbody kit for like an extra $500 or $400. So it does give it an even more aggressive look. I would love to see Acura consider doing a Type S version of this variant of this car with the 2-liter turbo from the RDX and the 10-speed auto. That would be an interesting addition with all-wheel drive, but who knows if Acura will do that. They really need to consider doing a hybrid. That's what the company is really struggling with compared to its rivals. Now, moving around the side profile, the ADX's, dimensions will deceive you because this is supposed to be their most affordable, smallest SUV. And while that is the case, its overall length is 185.8 with a 104.5-inch long wheelbase. The overall length of this car is the same as the Integra, and it's only around 2 inches shorter than the RDX, their bigger SUV. In fact, compared to the HRV, the ADX is roughly 6 inches longer, and its wheelbase is technically 3 inches shorter than the Integra's, which does contribute to this awkward angle here. The front overhang of this car is just ungainly for me. Acura could have really solved that if they just put the same 107.7-inch wheelbase on the Integra, but instead they shortened it by 3 inches. That creates this awkward proportion there. You can see the wheels. These are the gloss black 19-inch wheels that come standard with the A-Spec with advanced model. The regular A-Spec has a shark gray wheel. It's a double 5-spoke design riding on a 235 by 45 R19 Continental all-season tire. You have all independent suspension on this vehicle, but no adaptive dampers, and about 7.3 inches of ground clearance. Brake rotors are 12.3 inches all around. And you can see the gloss black around the wheel arch trim is included with the A-Spec model. I would actually love to see this car with a full paint finish. Acura doesn't offer that. I'm hoping they'll consider doing that in the future, because as you can see, when the sun hits this urban gray pearl, you can really see the warm metallic fleck in it, which looks really nice. The A-Spec badging here would probably look better if it was blacked out. This trim also includes black painted side mirrors, the only trim to get the black painted side mirrors. They are power folding and integrated turn signals and a full 360 camera when you guys go for the advanced package, which is not something that you can get in the Integra, so kind of keep that in mind. I also love the gloss black around the window trim. The panoramic sunroof opens up to vent air, and it also lets in a ton of light. It's standard when you guys go for the A-Spec models and up. The regular ADX will just have a standard sunroof. And then looking at it from this angle here, this is where you do see a little bit of the HRV roots in this vehicle. It's definitely belongs in the Acura family. The rear design, as you can see, has the same chicane style for the full LED taillight. It is an integrated LED turn signal, brake light, reverse lights. There's an A-Spec badge there, along with an ADX and all-wheel drive badge there. You can black out those badges. And I also really appreciate how Acura still puts dual chrome exhaust tips, which are exposed. They look really sporty, they look aggressive, although this car's looks may look and scream fast. It's definitely not a fast vehicle. You can see the rear spoiler is nicely integrated to the back. It gives it more aggression, and then you have a rear wiper that just kind of sits there in the middle of the glass. And then in terms of the cargo area, a power liftgate is included on this trim level, which also offers a hands-free functionality. And as you can see, the cargo area is pretty usable. You have around 23 cubic feet of storage space with the seats up. That's practically the same as the Integra, which, as you guys know, the Integra is also a hatchback. If you look underneath here, there is a little bit of underfloor storage along with your jack. And if you lift this up, you also get a temporary spare tire. So that's nice how Acura doesn't make you deal with a fix-a-flat kit. If you want to look in terms of features, there's some nice LED lighting back here. There's a 12-volt power outlet, subwoofer, of course, for the Bang & Olufsen stereo. And then if you fold down the seats back here, it expands the cargo to just under 54 cubic feet of space. So 54 cubic feet is definitely usable. It's pretty much among the best in the segment. Something like the Lexus UX offers, I want to say, like 50% less cargo capacity. So being based off of the HRV means that the interior and the cargo space is definitely among the most roomiest in the subcompact entry-level luxury space. Now moving on to the interior of the Acura ADX. Before we get inside, let me show you guys the key fob. You can see this is the current Acura Intelligent Access key fob. It is a unique key versus what Honda uses. And I also like the way the key looks, from the way it feels to the high quality feeling of it to the heft of it. You also have lots of buttons here, from lock, unlock, power liftgate, panic, and then there's also remote start. The advanced trim is technically the only trim that gives you remote start from the key fob. Although Acura technically does not offer phone as a key functionality, you do have access, I believe, to their Acura Link app, where you could potentially access the vehicle. If you want to approach the vehicle, you can see traditional door handles in the pull style arrangement. There's like these little area here with 3 lines. Touch that will lock the door for you. It also power fold the mirrors in, just like other Acura models. Acura does offer an auto walkaway or lock feature, which is a feature that I think a lot of owners really appreciate. If you touch the back of the handle, that will unfold the mirrors and also unlock the door for you. Now, my particular test car has the urban gray pearl exterior with the light orchid real leather interior with the blue ultra suede accents. So the advanced package is the only trim that gets real leather. It's not the premium Milano leather like in bigger Acura models, but it's not the fake leatherette that you find in the lower trim levels. The leather seats also, they look like they were kind of pulled out of a Honda in terms of the shape of the seats and the look of the seats, but I love how the seats are also heated and ventilated. The blue ultra suede is definitely a nice touch. You can also get this color in black or with a red interior. The seats also feel nice and well padded. They are comfortable and supportive with nice padding and good bolstering. You have a 12-way power driver's seat, and you also get a 2-person memory. The passenger side, however, is only a 4-way with no adjustable lumbar, so kind of keep that in mind. In terms of the materials, you can see the upper portion has a soft touch injection molded plastic, more of the leather and blue ultra suede with some aluminum accented looking plastic trim. The piano black here has a really cool texture to it, which kind of helps it not show fingerprints and smudges all that badly. You can see this area here is nice and padded. Window controls are one touch for all 4, up, down, which is a nice touch. They feel high quality. And then this is the only trim that gets the 15-speaker Bang & Olufsen stereo system, which sounds good. If you guys are an audiophile, you're gonna wanna go with this system. The other ADX models, I believe, will just have an 8-speaker Acura premium audio system. You can see power folding mirrors. There's like almost like this really weird texture on this lower portion, but again, this is all hard touch plastic with some additional storage. The A-Spec also includes alloy sport pedals, but overall the interior makes a great first impression. Now, getting inside with around 7.3 inches of ground clearance, this has a nice easy step-in height. And then if I close the door has a relatively solid sounding thunk. And then of course, once you're in, you hear the Acura chime. You have a fully digital 10.2-inch cluster there, and then of course a 9-inch touchscreen here in the center. Now, starting the vehicle up, start-stop button is where you'd expect it to be. The vehicle has a traditional starter noise because this is not a hybrid or a mild hybrid. And like I said earlier, all ADX models come with their 9-inch infotainment touchscreen with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. However, this trim with the advanced package is the only trim to get Google built in. So you have access to the Google Play Store, you have Google Assistant, of course. I kind of find it annoying how Acura, just like Honda, tends to reserve the high trims to get the Google built in. That should be standard across the board. I shouldn't have to pay extra to have the Google built in, but at least it has wireless phone connectivity as standard. Now, even though this is advanced model, you don't have a heads-up display. Some trims, some competitors give you a heads-up display. You can see the upper portion of the dash has a soft touch injection molded plastic. There's real leather and stitching on this portion here. There's some aluminum look trim here, although this could be real. It feels real, but it just doesn't feel cold. The vents, you can see traditional vents where you move this little tab to manipulate where you want the airflow to go. The steering wheel is basically the same steering wheel in the Integra. It offers a manual tilt telescoping adjustment, which offers a good amount of adjustability and range. You have a heated steering wheel that's only on this trim. You have these actual metal paddle shifters, which Acura is very proud of. You also have your steering wheel controls for volume, for the Acura Watch system, which includes adaptive cruise control. The horn, it actually sounds decently toned. It doesn't sound like a puny horn, considering this is a small car, so I like that. And then over here you can see you have a little bit of buttons here for the stability control off, your power liftgate control. There's an empty button here along with an empty area here. Fog lights, like I said, included on this vehicle. You have automatic headlights with auto high beams, automatic wipers as well, which is a nice touch. And then down here you can see you have actual buttons for your heated and cooled seats, which I very much appreciate. Dual zone automatic temperature control. You have 2 USB-C charging ports, an actual wireless phone charging pad, which I believe is standard. And then you have cup holders here, more of that piano black plastic with the textured look. Although here, as you can see, it definitely shows fingerprints, smudges, and scratches very easily. Another cup holder over here, electronic parking brake. You have downhill assist control. And then your drive mode selector, there's a total of 5 from comfort, snow, normal, and sport. And then if you push this button here, it goes into an individual mode where you can essentially customize how you'd like the entire drive, dynamic to be. Although there are no adaptive dampers, so you can't adjust the ride quality at a touch of a button. But the advanced model is the only trim to give you the individual drive mode settings, so kind of keep that in mind. If I put the vehicle into reverse, there's your full 360 camera, which includes trajectory, parking sensors, automatic cross-traffic braking. The quality and resolution is pretty much average. I like how it takes up the entire 9-inch display, and I believe there's different angles and views that you can put it in. So the advanced model, again, is the only trim to give you the full 360 camera. It's nice how Acura gives you that. There's also a separate button here if you just want to pull up the camera, which is nice how it's right there at your fingertips. You can see the shifter. I like how it's very traditional. There's a sport mode here as well. Manual is accessed via the paddle shifters, obviously, but this is definitely nice for those of you who prefer a traditional shifter. I like how there's also leather kind of going across here with the contrast stitch. It's nice and padded here. If I open this up, you can see it's a relatively deep center console storage area where it provides more covered storage. Again, good sized cup holders, but it's an interesting design how they're, kind of separate of each other. You can see the seats, like I said earlier, they look good. They're comfortable and supportive. The cooled functionality also works really well. That's something that I didn't say about the Honda Accord with its cooled seats. So something about this Acura, this cooled seats actually are icy cold. The glove compartment, you can see, is damped but not lined with felt. It offers additional covered storage. You have an auto-dimming rearview mirror with a frameless design, but no digital camera rearview mirror. You have LED map lighting, and some ambient lighting is along the door panels, but you can't change the color or anything like that. It's basically illuminated there and illuminates right there, but not in the backseat area. You can see woven material for the headliner, and then of course there's the sunroof that actually tilts and opens up completely to vent air only just over the front seat. That's the largest that it opens. It's definitely a nice touch. The panel roof is standard when you guys go for the advanced package and up models, or I'm sorry, the A-Spec models and up. But overall, the interior, as you can see, has the basic design of an Integra or an HRV, but I do wish that Acura would kind of offer their bigger 12.3-inch display. I like how that's a fully digital, not fully digital, but it's their 10.25-inch cluster. A heads-up display would be nice. Material quality is also average. Build quality seems good. And you have good sight lines, and it feels relatively roomy in this cabin as well, which is not something that I can say about its main rival from Lexus. But let's go ahead and hop into the backseat area. I can show you guys what that space is like. Now, just like the HRV and the Integra, the ADX has a very adult-friendly back seat, and that's a good thing, especially if you guys, have big, tall friends or kids that you want to put back here. You can see the seats have the same Alcantara or blue Alcantara with the stitching. It's that light orchid color. The seats also do fold down in a 60/40 manner. When you fold down the seats, you have almost a completely flat load floor, so that's definitely a nice touch to expand the cargo. There is no recline functionality for the seats, and then sadly the material quality back here has definitely been downgraded compared to the front seat area. Like, it would have been nice if they at least put leather here, but it is nice and padded here where you'd rest your elbows. More storage, cup holder storage, and hard touch plastic over here. But once you get back here, you can see this is basically my driving position, and Acura says you have around 37.7 inches of legroom back here, which is among the best in the segment. This is easily like 5 more inches of legroom versus its main rival from Lexus, which is a good thing. You do also have standard rear seat air conditioning vents back here, which is something you don't even get, I believe, in the Integra. You have 2 USB-C charging ports, no heated back seats. That would have been nice in an advanced model to have that feature. You have 1 storage pocket here, and then these headrests do adjust with the armrest that, as you saw, folds down to reveal 2 cup holders. The headroom space, as you can see, I have a solid maybe 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches of clearance. The sunroof does take up some space, but overall, as you can see, I can easily cross my legs and get comfortable. So if you plan to use this as a family vehicle, the ADX has basically the same backseat space as an RDX, and it also makes this one of the most roomiest subcompact luxury SUVs you're gonna find in the segment. So Acura has so desperately needed a smaller, more affordable entry-level SUV into their North American lineup for decades. And for 2025, it's finally arrived in the form of the ADX. We finally have an Integra SUV, which is basically a great place to start because the current Integra has been the bestseller in the segment. I mean, it's a car that's a guzzied up Civic, but at the same time, people love the style of it. They love the handling. The Type S appeals to the enthusiasts. So now that we're driving the ADX A-Spec, this platform, as you guys know, is shared with the current generation Honda HRV, but also the Integra. We have a different engine though. This is the 1.5-liter VTEC double overhead cam turbocharged 4-cylinder hooked up to a continuously variable transmission. The HRV does not offer this powertrain. Some would say it's the same engine in the Integra, and it is. However, this powertrain makes around 10 less horsepower than the Integra, 190 horsepower, 179 pound-feet of torque, which makes it one of the least powerful engines in its subcompact entry-level luxury SUV class. So I'm not anticipating this vehicle to be very fast. The last HRV that I tested, which had the 2-liter naturally aspirated engine, took around 8.9 seconds. Let's just hope the ADX will actually be faster. So we'll go up to our usual stretch of road here. I have the car in its sport setting. The transmission's also in sport. We're gonna go ahead and brake torque it. This is all-wheel drive, of course. Oof. It does fake shifts. All right, we got 8.72 seconds on our first run. That's with it on pretty much level ground. 8.7 seconds is very, very sluggish for the segment. I mean, technically by modern car standards, it's also pretty slow, and it is around 0.2 seconds faster than the last HRV that I tested. Remember, the HRV only has 158 horsepower, so 32 less than this car and around 41 foot-pounds of torque less, but the Acura is a whopping 500 pounds heavier than an Integra, around 300 pounds heavier, or 400 pounds heavier than an HRV, of course, because the Acura has additional equipment, additional sound deadening materials. This is where Honda's two-motor hybrid powertrain would make a big difference here. I just shocked that Honda wouldn't offer their hybrid powertrain on this car. It could really use it. Let's try another run here. We're just gonna floor it. 9.4 on that run there. Now 9.4 is with it more going slightly uphill. So in the real world, you're gonna be doing around 9 seconds 0 to 60 wise for this car, which is not great. It's definitely sluggish. But again, you don't buy a vehicle like this to go drag racing, but I should point out the Lexus UX300H, a hybrid, which was just upgraded with the Prius's powertrain, did it in around 7.2 seconds. Most of the European competitors will do it in the 6.5 to 7 second range. So Acura, you're supposed to be precision crafted performance, but acceleration wise, this car is definitely not that vehicle. Now, in terms of the rest of the drive, the handling dynamics of this vehicle actually are quite good. The ride quality is definitely among the best that you're gonna find in the segment. This car has a really plush ride, but at the same time, it also has really communicative handling and steering system. If I turn the wheel here, you can see the vehicle changes directions pretty fast. The suspension, there is no adaptive dampers for this model, which is something that Acura offers in the Integra. Surprised they don't offer it in this car. But it's a relatively softly tuned suspension, but at the same time, I think it does a great job at just soaking up the bumps. Yet at the same time, it feels really responsive. It feels like it wants to change directions. There's a certain eagerness that this chassis offers, where I would love to see Acura do a Type S variant. A Type S variant would easily, do well with the 2-liter turbo from the RDX. With all-wheel drive, of course. The all-wheel drive system in this car, I also want to point out, is not the torque vectoring super handling all-wheel drive that you get in other Acura models. This is essentially just a clutch pack that sends power to the rear axle, can send around 50% of the torque back there. So when I put my foot down, there's no overdriving of the rear outside wheel to help the vehicle turn in a little bit faster. And in fact, the CVT with this 4-cylinder turbo feels almost like lethargic. It's very lazy. It's a very lazy engine to rev. The sound also isn't great. Acura is kind of amplifying the sound into the speakers, where in sport mode it does that especially, and it makes the engine feel even louder, and it's not a really pleasant sound. It's a relatively refined engine though. It's not like a horribly, buzzy engine, although you do feel a little bit of buzz coming through. We're gonna try one more acceleration run here. This time I'm not gonna brake torque it, we're just gonna floor it. God, it feels so slow, but the mid-range is good. And if it wasn't faking those shifts, it probably would be a little faster. 8.78 seconds there, so pretty consistent. And again, this time puts it around 2 seconds, 1.5 to 2 seconds slower than all of its rivals. So Acura, you have some work. I would love to see this powertrain hooked up to a 2-motor hybrid system. They should really consider doing the 1.5 turbo with the 2-motor hybrid system in other, or like from the other hybrid models that Honda tends to offer. But let's switch the drive mode here into its normal setting. I'll take the transmission out of its sport mode. And this is where the ADX feels really good to drive. It's got great visibility. You can see out of the front, the side, and the rear perfectly. The seats are also really comfortable and supportive. The cool functionality also works well in this car. The AC also blows ice cold. I've been driving the car in primarily hot weather, like over 90 degrees, and the AC feels really nice. The interior is quiet for the most part until you hear the engine making a bunch of ruckus. The road noise actually isn't as hateful as I thought. So as a daily driver, if you're gonna take this car on longer road trips, it actually is easy to drive and it's comfortable. It's not gonna beat you up. It does feel noticeably more upscale and premium than the last HRV that I tested. It also feels more upscale than the Integra on the interior. For example, I have these actual metal paddle shifters which offer 7 different levels or 7 different gears gear ratios to choose from. And when you start playing with the paddles, it actually does a pretty decent job of mimicking shifts. It actually mimics shifts pretty convincingly, considering this doesn't actually have any gears. And around town, even though the 0 to 60 time feels lethargic, or it is lethargic on the numbers, this car feels peppy around town. It's not until you're on the highway where you're noticing it doesn't have very much, guts to actually get this vehicle going at higher speeds. But in around town driving, the ADX drives fine. The steering is smooth. The ride quality is smooth. The seats are comfortable. Visibility is good. It's relatively quiet in here. And then when you're in comfort mode or normal mode, the engine's not screaming so much to where it's making all that ruckus, especially since it's not kind of amplifying the sound. And remember, if you don't like the engine sound, the 15-speaker Bose stereo also sounds incredible. And in terms of fuel efficiency, this car is rated to get 25 in the city, 30 on the highway, about 27 combined. I averaged around 24 mpg in mostly city driving, which is not great. This is where, if this car was a hybrid, it would easily get so much better. A Lexus UX, which comes only with the hybrid powertrain, will easily do over 40 mpg, versus this car, struggling to get 25 basically is not great. So keep that in mind. I would love to see Acura. This is all this car really needs, is it needs to have this turbo engine with their 2-motor hybrid system. It would probably, if they could make that produce like around 220 horsepower, that would be phenomenal if it could get over 40 mpg. So Acura tells us they're working on hybrids and it can't come soon enough. I also would love to see a Type S variant with a 2-liter turbo from the Integra Type S with all-wheel drive and like a dual clutch transmission. Awesome. But or even like their 10-speed auto would be fantastic. But Acura, sadly, I don't think they're going to even consider that, although I think it would probably do well. But I mean, overall, the Integra or the ADX, does it feel like an Integra SUV? In the handling dynamics, it does. It feels sporty, it feels competent, it also is comfortable. In the acceleration department, no. This vehicle feels a little bit too sluggish on highway. In around town, it feels adequate, but adequate is not something that I want to use to describe a luxury SUV. So for me personally, could I get past this engine? If I was just going to be driving mostly around town, yes, but then I would be annoyed that the fuel efficiency isn't as good as something like the Lexus UX. So the bones of this car are good. It's just kind of hampered down by a powertrain that is very much not really worthy of the Acura badge, although it works perfectly in a lot of Honda vehicles. So after spending a full week with the first ever Acura ADX, I have to stress again that this model has been long overdue in Acura showrooms because, as you guys know, SUVs are what a lot of buyers are looking for. And while Acura has always had strong sales with the RDX and MDX, their entire lineup has kind of been dealing with faltering sales here in the US. So this is a model that's designed to, again, attract a younger buyer, a new buyer into Acura showrooms, especially if you really like the Integra, because the Integra has actually been one of my favorite of the entry-level subcompact sedans, because technically it's a hatchback. You have the high-performance Type S. So after spending a week with this model here, I have to say that there's definitely some Integra influence in this car in terms of the exterior design. The front fascia looks like, again, it belongs or was pulled from the Integra family. The rear and the side profile definitely scream more HRV to me, and I think Acura definitely got some of the proportions wrong by not, again, enlarging the wheelbase from the HRV and matching that of the Integra. The handling and ride quality of this vehicle are definitely top-notch. It has a really smooth ride with very confident, stable handling that could easily handle more power. That's the thing about this car, is the biggest letdown for me with the ADX has to deal with its powertrain, because its 1.5-liter VTEC double overhead cam turbo engine sounds good on paper. It just doesn't deliver the performance, because as you guys saw, 8.7 seconds to 60 makes this the slowest accelerating vehicle in this segment. You'll struggle to beat vehicles like a Subaru Crosstrek, for example, at a stoplight, so kind of keep that in mind. A Civic Hybrid will also smoke this car, which is a problem because Acura is all about precision crafted performance, and when you have this meager amounts of power, it just is kind of a turn down, a letdown for a lot of enthusiasts. Now, of course, if you don't care about that, the ADX's, space on the inside, its higher quality interior, its value pricing, its sleek design certainly will help, draw you back into the Acura showrooms. But for me personally, I really want to see them do a hybrid option. I really want to see them do a Type S option. They just need to expand the family here, because the bones are good. It just hasn't been executed, at least in the best possible manner that kind of goes with the Acura precision crafted persona performance. But in terms of pricing for the ADX, this is where Acura, I think, definitely got it right, because this car is a lot less expensive than most of its rivals, because base pricing for the base ADX with front wheel drive starts at about $35,000 $1,000 even. Add $2,000 if you guys want all-wheel drive. If you guys want the A-Spec model, it'll cost you an extra $3,000, which for the extra styling, the more aggressive wheels, the ventilated seats, the upgrades in the interior, I think it's worth the extra $3,000. If you guys want to go to the advanced package, which is also basically grouped in with the A-Spec model, it's an extra $4,000 on top of that. So my test car here with the A-Spec Advance and all-wheel drive, the color upcharge, and around $1,000 worth of accessories brings the as-tested price to around $46,980. So almost 47 grand. Sounds pretty expensive, but keep in mind the last Lexus UX that I tested was around 45 grand. It wasn't even fully loaded. A fully loaded UX F Sport is going to be around $49,000. A BMW X1 that's comparable is around 52 grand. Ditto for the Mercedes, the Volvo, and the Audi Q3 is really the only one that comes close to this. It's around 49 grand for the Audi. So there is some value baked into the Acura, but just keep in mind the compromise that you have to make is the fact that this is the slowest vehicle. It's going to get one of the worst fuel efficiency in the segment because, again, it's not hybrid assisted in any way at all. But if you can kind of look past the meager power, this is definitely still an excellent entry-level SUV that definitely will feel like you're driving around in an Integra SUV, at least until you put your foot down. But it should keep pace with, most buyers' expectations, because I think most people in this segment aren't necessarily looking for the fastest 0 to 60 time. So with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2025 Acura ADX. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.